Bakugo clicked his tongue. Oi, stop gawking. That didn't help. Then the door slid open again. The purple-haired boy stepped in. He didn't swagger this time. His shoulders were tight, posture controlled with effort rather than confidence. One arm was bound in a black brace instead of a cast, functional, temporary. The kind you wore when you refused to stop moving. Bruising peeked out from beneath his collar, dark and old enough to tell a story without words. His eyes flicked across the room. They landed on Izuku. Then Bakugo. Something unreadable passed through them. Recognition, maybe. Not admiration, not envy. Assessment. The class noticed him too. Not because he was loud, or flashy, or smug, but because he looked like he'd lost a fight with the ground and come back for more. A student near the front whispered, "He looks like he got hit by a truck." Izuku didn't answer. He didn't need to. He felt it in his bones. Bakugo noticed at the same time he did. Their eyes met for half a second. Trying, Bakugo thought. Izuku nodded once, almost imperceptibly. They didn't know why the purple-haired kid had pushed himself that far. Didn't know what he was chasing or who he was trying to catch. But they knew the signs. The boy took a seat near the back, movements precise, economical, every motion chosen to avoid aggravating injuries that hadn't finished healing yet. He leaned back, eyes half-lidded, like he wanted to look relaxed. He wasn't fooling anyone who mattered. The room felt wrong now. Like prey realizing too late, they weren't the only ones with scars. Then, the door opened again. Aizawa Shouta walked in. His eyes swept the room once. He saw everything. The stares. The tension. The way the class instinctively leaned away from 3 students like they were something that had crawled out of a disaster zone instead of a hospital. His gaze lingered on Midoriya's wrapped arms. Bakugo's stance. The purple-haired boy's brace. For the briefest moment, so brief most people would swear it never happened, the corner of his mouth lifted. Not a smile. An acknowledgement. Good, it said. You survived. Aizawa dropped his sleeping bag onto the floor with a thud. Sit, he said. The class obeyed instantly. Welcome to Class 1A, he continued, voice flat, eyes sharp. Some of you look scared. His gaze flicked, just once to the 3 injured students. You should be. Izuku exhaled slowly. Bakugo grinned. And in the back of the room, the purple-haired boy, Kadama, watched them both with something like grim determination burning behind his eyes. Class had begun. The door slammed open. Fear not, young Ichiroyas, for I am here. The room jumped. Several students yelped outright. One nearly fell out of their chair. Even the purple-haired boy straightened a fraction, grin sharpening like he'd just spotted something interesting. All Might filled the doorway in a burst of sunlight and impossible muscle, cape billowing despite the lack of wind. He struck a pose that looked like it had been practiced in a mirror for decades. Izuku's eyes lit up instantly. All Might, he breathed, reverent, but calmer than he'd been as a child. Less shaking, more grounding, like seeing a star you'd already mapped. Bakugo scoffed loudly. But his foot stopped tapping. And his eyes didn't leave All Might for even a second. All Might laughed, booming and bright. H-A-H-A-H-A, I see the fire of youth burns strong in you all. Now then. He paused. His smile hesitated asterisk. Because that was when he noticed the bandages. Midoriya Izuku's arms were wrapped, visible beneath his sleeves. His posture was straight, but careful, like someone used to moving around pain. Bakugo Katsuki leaned back like nothing was wrong, but the slight stiffness in his shoulder and the way his hands stayed still were impossible to miss. And then, the purple-haired boy. Braced arm, bruising that hadn't fully faded. A body that screamed asterisk recent damage even while pretending it didn't care. All Might blinked. Young heroes, he said, volume dropping just a notch. Izuku straightened immediately. Why, yes, sir. Bakugo rolled his eyes. We're fine. The purple-haired boy grinned wider. Training accident, he said lightly. Happens. All Might laughed again, but this time it was just a bit too fast. Why yes, quite, youth is resilient. Aizawa, already halfway into his sleeping bag, cracked one eye open. He took in the scene, the class staring at Izuku, Bakugo, and the purple-haired boy like they were walking caution signs. Then he closed his eye again. And smiled. Just barely. All Might, Aizawa muttered. You're blocking the door. Ah, right. All Might shuffled in, somehow managing to look both overwhelming and awkward at the same time. He turned to the class, hands on hips. Today, we will be conducting a practical exercise. Murmurs rippled through the room. Group work, someone whispered. Combat training on the first day. All Might nodded enthusiastically. Yes, teams of 2. One pair will play heroes the other villains. The goal is simple, capture the villain or defend the objective. A pause. I think, he added. Aizawa sighed into his sleeping bag. He has no lesson plan. I heard that, All Might boomed, then coughed and lowered his voice. This will take place at Ground Beta, a simulated urban environment, very safe, probably. Probably did not reassure anyone. Bakugo grinned. Sounds fun. Izuku swallowed. Urban. The purple-haired boy cracked his knuckles carefully. Hope they don't pair me with someone boring. The class lined up shortly after, tension thick in the air. All Might stood at the front with a clipboard. He was clearly holding upside down. Now then, he announced, team assignments. He squinted at the paper. Ah, right, young Midoriya and... Bakugo leaned forward slightly. Young Bakugo. Bakugo's grin turned feral. Heth. Izuku blinked. Oh. Aizawa cracked an eye open again. Interesting. And opposing them, All Might continued, will be young Katauma and a young Uraraka. Katauma's grin sharpened. He glanced at Izuku and Bakugo, eyes flicking briefly to their bandages. Lucky me, he said. Izuku felt it again, that instinctive tightening in his chest. He's trying, Izuku realized, trying hard. Bakugo felt it too. He leaned closer to Izuku and muttered, Don't go easy. I wasn't planning to, Izuku whispered back. All Might clapped his hands together. Remember, this is a learning experience, no excessive force. Aizawa already asleep. Good luck with that. The siren blared. Ground Beta awaited. And as the gates slid shut behind them, All Might watch the monitors, 3 injured students moving with frightening precision, and felt something unfamiliar twist in his chest. I really should have prepared more, he muttered. From his sleeping bag, Aizawa smiled. The siren wailed. The doors slammed shut. Ground Beta fell silent for exactly half a second. Then Izuku moved. Not forward. Sideways. Bakugo moved at the same time, opposite direction, same angle, same pace, like they were parts of a single mechanism splitting apart. No signal, no glance, no shouted plan. They didn't speak. They did need to. On the observation monitors, All Might leaned forward. Splitting up already, a classic tactic. Aizawa didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the screens. Izuku hit the ground running, sneakers barely touching concrete as he listened to the environment instead of looking at it. Wind resistance. Echo delay. The faint tremor of footsteps through reinforced flooring. Behind him, 3 blocks over, Bakugo vaulted upward on a low-power blast, not for height, but for angle. He skimmed rooftops, explosions muted, controlled, directional. They weren't hunting. They were mapping asterisk. Izuku's brain worked faster than his body ever could. Sightlines, choke points, structural weaknesses, enemy quirks inferred from posture alone. He didn't need to see Katauma to know where he was. 3rd floor, Izuku thought distantly. Too confident, watching instead of moving. Bakugo adjusted his trajectory without realizing he'd done it. Across the field, Kadoma felt it. That crawling sensation at the back of his skull, the one that screamed asterisk, you're already late. He pressed his braced arm against a wall, eyes narrowed. They're not rushing, he muttered. They're setting something. Uraraka hovered nervously beside him. Should we move? Kadoma hesitated. That was all it took. Izuku struck first, not directly. He kicked a loose support beam 2 buildings away, releasing stored kinetic energy in a precise burst that didn't collapse the structure. Just shifted asterisk it. Floors tilted. Shadows changed. Kadoma's field of vision warped. At the exact same moment, Bakugo came down like judgment. Not explosive. Accurate. He detonated behind Kadoma, not to hit him, but to herd him, forcing a dodge exactly where Izuku had already predicted he'd go. Kadoma realized it mid-movement. Oh, asterisk shit. Izuku was already there. No wind-up, no wasted motion. He didn't punch Kadoma. He struck the ground beside him, releasing kinetic energy sideways, turning the pavement into a weapon. The shockwave lifted Kadoma off his feet and slammed him into a wall hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. Bakugo was on him before he hit the ground. Knee to the ribs, elbow to the shoulder, controlled, brutal, precise. Uraraka screamed. Match over, Aizawa said quietly. All Might didn't hear him. He was staring at the monitors. Izuku and Bakugo stood over Kadoma, already immobilized, already beaten, and neither of them was breathing hard. They finally looked at each other. A nod. That was it. On the field, Kadoma lay on his back, staring up at the artificial sky, chest heaving, pain screaming through every nerve. They didn't even try, he realized. Not fully. They hadn't tested him. They'd classified him. From the stands, Class 1A was silent. The jokes were gone. The awe had curdled into something heavier. Fear? No. Understanding. That wasn't teamwork, Iida said stiffly. That was synchronization. Kirishima swallowed, manly but terrifying. Uraraka hugged herself, staring at Izuku's hands like they might glow again at any second. Aizawa shut off the monitors. Never, he said flatly, pair those two again. All Might finally found his voice. They didn't communicate, he said slowly. Not once. They already knew, Aizawa replied. He looked at the frozen image on the screen, Izuku calculating, Bakugo striking, both moving like extensions of the same thought. If they wanted to, Aizawa continued, they could dismantle most hero teams before those teams realized they were under attack. All Might's smile was gone. If they turned against society. They won't, Aizawa cut in. How can you be sure? All Might asked quietly. Aizawa glanced back at the field, where Bakugo was already dragging Kadoma upright, and Izuku was checking Uraraka for injuries first. They choose restraint, Aizawa said, every second. Kadoma watched them walk away together. Not triumphant. Not smug. Just asterisk done. Something inside him burned. That's the peak, asterisk, he thought. That's the mountain. To reach them, he wouldn't just have to train harder. He'd have to fight fate. Fight fear. Fight the idea that some people were simply born unreachable. Fine, asterisk, Kadoma thought, forcing himself to stand. Then I'll fight God. Around him, Class 1A felt it too. If they wanted to stand beside those two. If they wanted to even see asterisk, the light they walked in.